8 industries, 3 continents, I have worked to assess, diagnose, and intervene in performance problems of different people and different levels in the organization. What's almost always universal is that the problem that's presented on the table is really not the problem that is beneath in the full story when we uncover it. And today I'm going to tell you a lot of reasons why execution fails so that you're able to dig through what the problem beneath really is. I'm sure you've all heard of the dead horse theory, and it was made famous by the Dakota proverb that says, when you discover that you're riding a dead horse, the best strategy is to dismount. Sounds very obvious, right? Because likely the horse will actually drop you because it's dead and you have to dismount. But unfortunately, in boardrooms and offices out there, people are doing the exact opposite. The dead horse theory says that people look at how to deny that the horse is dead by doing several very absurd things that they do. So the first thing that people generally do is they cry about the sunken costs. This is called the sunken cost fallacy. So people start saying, but we've invested time in this project. We've invested resources in this project. We even hired a dedicated team to manage this project. So it has to work. So we are not denying that this project is not working. We are not accepting actually that this project is not working. The horse is dead. What we are doing is to cry over the effort that has been put. Sunken cost fallacy. The second thing that people do is putting more pressure. Management is called into a meeting, and as soon as they come, they're like these hungry lions out to get people because the pressure has been put on them. Now they're coming in. Let's meet every week to decide who's going to do what. Every day, tell me your sales numbers. How realistic is it that you can convert sales within a day within your industry, especially with consulting industries where the sales process takes 3 months, but suddenly you want to meet people every day to tell you about their sales numbers. Pressure has been put on management. Now management puts pressure on the other people instead of realizing that, oh, this horse is actually dead. Let's move on. All right, the next thing that people do is to add more layers or bureaucracy. So we create generally a committee. We now want a committee that looks into the quality of the equipment that we are sending out to our clients. So you start thinking about, okay, this committee needs to manage people that are within the same division and another division. These people also play a role in production. So now they are quality within, it just doesn't make sense. But people tend to put layers over layers over layers. What that does, it distracts the role clarity of an organization and of a person. And now people don't know if I am a regulatory committee, supportive committee, execution committee. It just becomes very distorted. The next thing that people do, which is probably where I would come in, and how my team would always be called into these meetings, is the consultant. So Promote Balance is an excellent behavioral and performance consultancy. And so we get called in because we should diagnose where the behavior is going wrong. We should diagnose how performance is being affected by people behavior or by the people generally. And I mean, in most cases, consultants come and do a good job. However, within the dead horse theory, consultants move into the office, they smell something. I'm just going concrete a bit here. So they smell, something doesn't smell right here. And over 6 months, they're working in the organization, calling department by department, opening laptop by laptop, system by system, trying to figure out where the problem is going. Meanwhile, the horse was dead. So the first smell they smelled as they moved in was of the dead horse. But yeah, consultants then come in and they're asked what's going on, and they still come up with the same reason, but 6 months later. So you're feeding into the sunken costs. They have put pressure on people. They are an added layer above the layers that have already been put in. And this results into nothing, basically. I love this one. It's my favorite. It's where people now say, we need to rebrand. Looking concretely at the horse, what this looks like is people saying, the horse as it is not really dead, it's living deprived or living compromised. But it's dead, so people want to rebrand a thing that's dead. They add a little beautifying thing. Now suddenly we have a circle around the original logo and we think this is going to change the rot. No, this is not true. There's a very popular retail line that has done this, brought the same business with a different name, same products in the shop, same people working in the shop. All that's different is the color now and maybe the names of a few products. Rebranding a dead horse. You need to get into the depth of why the horse is dead, or maybe look for a different horse now, so that when you have a different horse, you don't kill it with your irresponsible behavior. All right, the epitome for me of the absurdity of the dead horse theory is the bringing in more horses. Yes, we've got a dead horse, a dead horse, a dead horse. If we bring them together, they'll probably harness more energy and they're going to produce more results, and they're gonna, it's absurd, it's absurd. And that's what organizations tend to do. Okay, so this brand didn't work. Let's bring in another brand. Let's bring in more people. This role didn't work. It's because the person who was playing that role doesn't work. Let's bring in 3 more people to support him. So what are you doing? You're just bringing more dead horses to carry another dead horse, and that does not work. And now, the climax of this, for me, you've done all the interventions, and it comes all down to failure still. So everyone agrees that the horse was dead. You realize that we've lost money, now let's pivot because the horse was dead. Despite the pressure being put, doesn't work, let's pivot. Every single intervention then results in the same conclusion of how the horse was dead. So now if we can put that into more direct and day-to-day organizational living, this is basically what happens under pressure. Some organizations are able to turn around pressure, but radical honesty is required to say, okay, so this cannot be turned around. It is a dead horse. So let's say you have an ailing horse. I'm going to add a little bit of some fun to it. You have an ailing horse. It's not dead yet. How then do you manage that? So what matters in this kind of scenario, when you have an ailing horse and you're just under pressure and don't know how to make it feel better, I'm going to talk to you about how behavior changes under pressure and what are the likely problems that you are going to see as a leader. Some of the 3 main reasons that tell you that execution is failing is projects that are always almost done. So in an update meeting, you're asking, how far are we with the project of client Z? And they said, almost done for the past 3 weeks, for the past 3 months, 6 months. I've seen it live and direct. Projects are almost done until someone resigns because they now have pressure from a working system to produce those results. And they decide, you know what, I'm going to resign because I don't have capacity to do this. So that is already a sign of execution that is not, that is under pressure and that is not working. The second thing that we see almost all the time is a redirect of problems to other people. You know, so this thing is because Division A hasn't sent us. It's because Leader C hasn't sent us what we need. That's deflection of responsibility. But let me go into a more systematic way of explaining the behaviors that come out under pressure. Human beings are very predictable. We do not like pressure, and when pressure happens, we fight, flight, or we freeze, isn't it? And these are some of the observable behaviors that come out when that happens. So our organization starts on a very low dip. We are struggling here. Things are not working. So what does management do? Management says, okay, let's look at silo by silo. Let's look at division by division. We need to go in and really check what's going on in every division or every department. And that is silo-enhanced working, which only makes the pressure go worse because you're going to elevate one division and not make the other two communicate with each other. So that the behavior of silo-based working happens when organizations are under pressure. Okay, so let's say these silos start working and the performance goes up, but the moment they reach here, there is more pressure. So the performance under pressure goes down again, and what follows is avoidance. People avoid making the decisions that they want. They avoid taking accountability for what they had to do. So that's where you start hearing issues like, I never really understood the instruction, to be honest, or I thought the marketing department was taking care of that. That's avoidance. They don't want to do what they were meant to do. So pressure happens, and this gets addressed by leadership, and then people go up again. Pressure keeps coming. You can see throughout here, this is pressure, and it curves human beings down to behave a certain way. The next behavior that you are likely to see as a leader, or that you're likely to exhibit as a leader, I hope not, is the escalation dependency. Oh, we need to wait for head office to tell us that. We need to wait. Switzerland is going to have to tell us. We're waiting for Switzerland to tell us. Every decision, including a hiring decision in your local office, is awaiting Europe to make the decision. Or maybe it's not really awaiting Europe because it's your fault, but because the system has not given the leader the authority that the leader needs to have to make decisions around their job. So escalation dependency happens from two angles. Top down, when authority lines are not given clearly and people are held accountable for things they don't have authority over. So now they need to escalate with everything. So there's escalation dependency. It also happens bottom up, when a leader realizes that, I do not have time, I'm curving under pressure, so they just forward everything to their manager, forward everything, and say, please assist with this. Or instead of them, this one is a very common one, instead of a leader going to their team and saying, we have decided as management or as leadership that we are not going to continue with this dead horse project, they won't do that. They'll go and say, management said they will not be well, they're part of management, but they say, management said they will not be continuing with this decision. That already shows me that this leader actually is letting go or giving away their authority by escalating every single thing. And I must tell you, if you're a leader, the team that you lead sees how weak you are when you do that. When pressure happens again, the other thing that happens is performance busyness. I'm busy. We are busy. We are busy. You are blocking every calendar slot that you have because you're focusing, you're getting into deep work. That's the impression that you give to people. And you're not available. I'm going to work from home for the next 2 days because I need to push output. You are performatively being busy. You are not getting things out. Let me break down what this actually means if I can look at it from a neuroscience perspective. Go a few videos down on my timeline and you will see when I talk about the performance brief and I discuss the neuroscience of performance. One key element that affects performance is the brain starts operating from an emotional perspective because the amygdala is switched on and is thinking threat, threat, threat. I always give a likening between the amygdala and maybe an alarm system. So the alarm still rings, threat, threat, threat. So everything that comes when you're under performance pressure makes you feel like it's a threat. Your manager says, can we meet? It's a threat. So you start pretending that you're busy. No, I don't have time to meet today. No, for the next 3 months, I'll be focusing on those priorities. So please don't put any leadership development in that time. You are performatively being busy. And if you're not aware, if you don't kick in your prefrontal cortex, you're going to be overwhelmed by the emotions and you are still not going to achieve what you need to achieve because the brain keeps telling you you are under threat. So a lot of people that perform like they're busy, walking around the office, yawning, coming up with ideas all the time, the first one to speak to management, that is terrible behavior that comes up when humans are under pressure. So let's say you manage this and the next pressure line is now coalition building. If you have heard of organizations that are said to be toxic, it's usually because of this coalition building. What is coalition building? When it's great, I'm sure you know a lot of political parties have coalitions, countries have coalitions, but within the context of an organization, good coalition building, when it is a mess, it results in a toxic environment. Individuals go to management for their own personal benefit and for their own personal security. So they create relationship with someone in management where they maybe snitch or maybe where they overly promote themselves just so that they're seen as the one that is going to make it after this difficult period. Because when we are under pressure, the first instinct that we have is to protect ourselves, right? And instead of doing the work, instead of executing, people can start trying to build coalitions that become toxic for the organization. Another way of how coalition building turns up is where people go and report that this project is on stage B. Tomorrow they send an email, we are doing very well with stage B. Next week they send an email, we have done 1, 2, 3 already. And this normally happens when people want to be seen as if they're doing something to management, creating a coalition for themselves. I'll give you a very interesting example. One of our cats was sick and we took it to the vet, right? And when we took her to the vet, she had to be admitted overnight or so. So every 2 hours we would receive a message update, or Misty is actually sleeping very well. Misty has eaten what? We have administered this medication to Misty. So we woke up, my husband and I, to about 5 messages that were sent overnight updating us on Misty's situation. Okay, then Misty was ready for a discharge. We went and we picked up Misty, went home. Misty was still struggling, still throwing up a lot, still not eating well. So what these people did to us was to build a coalition, which was very, very unfruitful, telling us that we're doing this, and yet they are not even doing what they were supposed to do to make Misty feel better, to stop throwing up and start eating. At least from our perspective, that's what we cared about. So we decided to go to another vet, and it turns out Misty had a hairball that was stuck in her gut, in her, I don't know what the anatomy of a cat is, but she had a hairball that was stuck and she couldn't eat because food wouldn't go down, she would throw up. So that vet took Misty for, I think, a couple of minutes and came out and showed us the hairball, and Misty was well and glad to keep going. Took Misty home, and Misty was doing well. So what does that look like in an organization? It looks like constant meetings to provide feedback instead of doing the work. One of my team leaders constantly says, I would rather do the work, Shai, than for me to come and talk about doing the work. And that's an excellent thing, because when people are under pressure, they may be at a risk of talking about doing the work instead of doing the work. Please tell me which of these actually resonates with you before I tell you the last expression or the last behavior of human beings under pressure. Okay, so the last behavior that I want to share here is commitment versus compliance. When human beings are under pressure, the commitment element goes away, compliance comes in. Let me take it back to the neuroscience, how the brain works. When we are committed to a goal, we are working from the neurochemicals, dopamine, which says there's a reward, we're going to get it right, because we know we are going to achieve, right? We also understand oxytocin, which engrains or thrives where people are feeling a sense of belonging. But remember what I said in the dead horse theory. People are going to be putting pressure on employees. This then kills that belonging feeling that people have. They feel like, oh, okay, so we're just pushing people's KPIs here. They're just pushing. They're not even willing to listen to what we are struggling with. So the commitment is gone. the dopamine is also not being released because the effort that we are putting is not directly related to the outcomes that we are going to have, because the outcomes are being undermined. So we start developing this whole helplessness, feeling of saying, okay, no matter what I do, I'm not going to achieve it. I'm not going to be given credit for it. So let them put pressure and let's see what will happen. And that happens a lot. It's like a little bit of a demonstration within teams or within organizations, because human beings are forced. They are put under pressure. A committee is put above them. People are always moaning, we've spent so much money doing this. So people are like, okay, go ahead, moan about your money, we don't care. They now work from a compliance perspective. Compliance. I'm sure you can see that now. They work from a compliance perspective. What did management ask us to do? Okay, we'll do that. Do they want us to be in the office at 8 and out at 5? Yes, we'll do that. 5 o'clock we'll come out. Do they want us to send emails of what we've achieved every day? Yes, we'll do that. Do they want us to come to a meeting every day to discuss sales made? Yes, we'll do that. So people start working from a perspective of compliance and not commitment. And I mean, not even the values that you've stuck on the walls or the mission and vision that you scream about in every website post, in every social media post. That doesn't drive them anymore. It's just the compliance tick box. What are they asking for us to do? Let's do. And when people work from a tick box perspective, goals are not met, execution fails. How do you fix behavior that's curved under pressure? You need a system. I always talk about the red ACE model or system that I would like you to apply to help you manage behavior cracks under pressure. So R stands for roles. What are the roles that people have? How are they defined so that there is no ambiguity of what the role is supposed to bring as an outcome? And how is it defined in a way that there is no overlap or redundancy of activities in one area, whereas there are big gaps in other areas? So this is how roles are designed, so they can lead and feed into each other and allow performance despite pressure. So maybe I can show you here that roles also help people to manage less pressure. If the role is not defined, especially in small business, everyone is expected to do everything. So that means when pressure comes, everyone is under pressure. Instead of defining who holds certain outcomes, who is responsible for certain processes to work, so that we do not put pressure on everyone, but on the one that is supposed to make the outcome work. All right, the second part is expectations. The Red ACE system is also like a foundation of your little performance culture or little execution culture within a small business, or even the big execution culture within the macro view of the business. Expectations look at, is it clear to everyone mutually what success means? Is it clear to everyone what failure means? This can be easily achieved through policies, through contracts. You are expected to do this, and if you don't, you have failed, right? So that's expectations clearly defined. D stands for decision rights. Is your team very clear about what decision rights they have? Has the leader ceded some decision rights to their team? Because this then reduces the expectation of everyone pushing things up. Remember that coalition, pushing things up to management, escalating everything. Because people can make decision rights within their own space of work, within their own team, within their own division, within their own company. Is it clear that which person is allowed to make what decision at every level? The next part is authority. When we look at authority, it is not about whether someone is there on the organizational chart if they're higher than this person. It's about, is this person given the full authority to make moves or changes within what they'll be held accountable for? with the expectations and within their role, right? So let me make it very clear. Let's say someone heads the sales department of the Southern Africa region, right? And they sit somewhere in Botswana there, and they have salespeople from Mozambique, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and these people are all contributing to the outcome of this person sitting in Botswana. Is this guy in Botswana given the rights to hire? Can they hire, can they fire the people that are in the other SADC region countries? If they are not, then it's not fair. They do not have the authority that you are holding them accountable for outcomes that they cannot effect. So basically, the person who is held accountable for an outcome should have the authority to hire, fire, add resources, ask for resources, reduce resources for the outcome to be made. The number 5 element of the red ACE is consequences. Do you know how to apply consequences and in what time frame when things are not going the way they're supposed to go or when things are actually going right? A lot of leaders have asked me, what sort of consequences would you apply? If someone has made a decision problem, you just add another layer to the decision. Maybe they can copy their manager in every email that they send out for a couple of weeks or for a certain period. Maybe they get some decisions removed from them and we give them to a higher level. But the problem comes when these consequences don't have an end period. I know of several companies where every single person in the team or in the department is copied for every single thing, where other people that are copied have no influence to decision or execution within their roles of that. What that is doing is it's adding a lot of cognitive pressure, a lot of cognitive load on the person that is receiving emails that have nothing to do with their work. Consequences also have to be on the positive. Are you going to give a bonus based on performance, based on the expectations of execution, or are you just thumb-sucking bonuses? Consequences need to be fair. Everybody needs to know that when they do this and it's wrong, this is what happens. They get corrected immediately if it permits, or they get corrected through the performance management system if it's a performance issue, or the disciplinary system if it's a conduct or misconduct issue. The last part of the red ACE is escalation, which for me works both for, allowing decisions to be made at the right level, but also it is a marker of seeing whether roles, expectation, decision rights, authority, and consequences have been mapped correctly. So escalation pathways they have to be defined for every organization. What sort of decision can be made at every level, and how are they escalated if something doesn't happen well? Organizations shouldn't just be taken over by the current syndrome. Can I speak to your manager now? Can I speak to your manager? The call center agent or the customer service representative needs to know what kind of decisions can I escalate to management, not to be pressured by external people. So I will spend a little bit more time in upcoming videos explaining each and every element of the red ACE model, especially consequences and escalation pathways, because these two are very key in succeeding at execution. If you have been listening from the start up to now, I know you have learned exactly what you need to build an execution speed that your organization needs. And you also have learned quite a lot about some of the red flags you need to look out for and what you need to correct. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.